Liverpool needs to beat Real Madrid in the race for a 21-year-old midfielder, with the player himself showing interest in joining the Reds. Meanwhile, Konate responded with humor to recent criticism, reminding fans, "Some of you forget too quickly." Arne Slot has already received physical reinforcements ahead of the crucial clash against Atletico Madrid, but the team's star player remains injured, keeping expectations high for the key player's return. Welcome, fans. Let's check out the latest news from the Reds. Adam Wharton's trajectory over the past 2 years has been impressive. Since arriving at Crystal Palace from Blackburn Rovers in January 2024, the 21-year-old midfielder has become one of Europe's most sought-after young talents. With nearly 50 matches played, 6 assists, and a growing presence in the England national team, Wharton has captured the spotlight in European football. His ability to dictate the pace of play, recover possession, and perform calmly under pressure has made him a standout figure in the Premier League. At Crystal Palace, he's a midfield cornerstone, balancing defensive resilience with intelligent ball progression. This versatile and complete profile is exactly what top European clubs are noticing. Despite genuine interest from Real Madrid, Chelsea, and Manchester United, Wharton's preference is clear. He wants to play for Liverpool. Sources close to the player indicate that he sees Anfield as the ideal environment to continue his development under Arne Slot, in a system designed to maximize midfield control. Liverpool's need is evident. The team still seeks balance in midfield, particularly during defensive transitions, and Slot sees Wharton as a solution capable of strengthening the team's backbone. For the player, staying in the Premier League means continuing to develop in a familiar environment, avoiding the adaptation risk that moving abroad could bring. Real Madrid, on the other hand, identified Wharton as an option to reinforce midfield, serving as a backup for Aurelien Tchouameni and support when Eduardo Camavinga is unavailable. However, Wharton's decision to prioritize the Premier League complicates the Spanish club's strategy. They continue to monitor him, but recognize that Liverpool's preference could be difficult to overcome. Chelsea also shows interest, aligned with their strategy of accumulating young midfield talent. Even with Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo as established starters, the club sees Wharton as a valuable addition. Manchester United views Wharton as a key reinforcement for midfield in their long-term rebuild, while Crystal Palace maintains control of the negotiations, asking between £60 million and £70 million. Wharton's preference for Liverpool gives the Merseyside club a strategic advantage, and if the transfer goes through, it will be one of the most important moves of the 2026 window, reinforcing Liverpool's ambition to consolidate at the top of English and European football. Konate responded with humor to criticism of his recent performances for Liverpool, reminding detractors that "some of you forget too quickly." The French defender had a slow start to the season, struggling in victories over Bournemouth and Newcastle before an impressive return against Arsenal. His early performances drew criticism from fans and commentators, including Jamie Carragher, who described Konate as "out of control" in the dramatic late win at Newcastle. The situation was further complicated by ongoing contract negotiations, as Konate has yet to extend his stay at Liverpool. The player is attracting interest from Real Madrid, who plan to sign him on a free transfer at the end of his contract, but he is still considering remaining at Anfield. On an Instagram post, Konate responded to suggestions that fans would be happy to see him leave if he maintained inconsistent form. He wrote, "The problem is, some of you forget too quickly, only after 2 games," accompanied by laughing emojis. The defender also replied to a video on X, in which journalist David Lynch argued that the contract situation should not overshadow how good a player he is, using a thank you gif. His response shows Konate's dedication, even amid uncertainty about his future in Merseyside. Liverpool, meanwhile, is already planning in case Konate leaves in the summer. Interest in Crystal Palace captain Marc Guéhi is no coincidence. Guéhi was expected to join Liverpool in a £35 million deal on the last day of the transfer window, but Crystal Palace blocked the move. However, the transfer could still happen next year. Despite this, Liverpool does not necessarily intend to let Konate go, who is a natural right-sided center-back, while Guéhi is more comfortable on the left. Ideally, the club would keep Konate and also bring Guehi, who could be a long-term successor to Van Dijk. At the end of the window, Joe Gomez attracted interest from Crystal Palace, AC Milan, and Brighton, and a departure could have been considered if Guehi had arrived. Liverpool's plan for 2026-27 seems to include Van Dijk, Konate, Guehi, and Giovanni Leone as Arne Slot's central defensive line. Despite early criticism, securing Konate's contract extension remains a strategic priority.
Alexander Isak and Alexis Mac Allister train while Curtis Jones sits out. Liverpool is preparing for a match that promises to be special for several reasons. The Champions League is back, and the Reds have an exciting squad with the potential to go far in the competition. Wednesday could mark debut nights. Alexander Isak is expected to make his first appearance for the club, with journalist James Pearce confirming that the Swede will take part in the open training session on Tuesday at noon. Liverpool will start their Champions League campaign at Anfield against Atletico Madrid. In the Premier League, the Reds are at the top of the table with 12 points, but the way they achieved this result has been extraordinary. So far, they have needed last-minute goals in all 4 games, something that cannot continue if they want to meet their season objectives. Atletico Madrid, their first European opponent, is unlikely to allow this. Atletico is also dealing with an injury crisis, but Arne Slot seems to have only 1 star unavailable for the match. Alexis Mac Allister has returned to full training after the injury scare against Burnley, indicating he could go straight back into the starting lineup. One player who will not be available is Curtis Jones, the only absentee from training. Jones, previously praised as excellent, has not participated in any training sessions so far, which rules him out of the Champions League match, although his recovery timeline is still unknown. The good news for Liverpool is that right-backs Connor Bradley and Jeremy Frimpong are fit, which allows Dominic Szoboszlai to play if Mac Allister cannot. Jones and Szoboszlai usually compete for a spot when injuries arise, but now the Hungarian has the freedom to step in. Furthermore, his impressive midfield performances make him a reliable option, bringing energy that could be decisive. Liverpool enters the clash as favorites, but one of the biggest expectations from fans will be to see Alexander Isak make his debut for the club. Thank you very much for watching until now. See you next time.